When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I saw a marionette hanging in a store and it intrigued me, so I went home and made my first marionette, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. It wasn't a good marionette, but every once in a while, just by accident, it would move just right, and in that moment it seemed like it was alive to me. I didn't start out thinking I was going to be a puppeteer, but it just kind of took over my life and I went with it. I got serious about it in my early 20s, and I was doing it for fun. It's a hobby, I guess you could say. But then more and more people started asking to see the marionettes, and the next thing you know, I was very busy with it. I studied fine arts in school. I thought I was going to be a painter. I still do some painting and some drawing, and I took sculpture. The marionette making actually involves all the arts. All the ideas for the marionettes come from observation, of just things that happen in daily life. If I see something that I think would make a good marionette piece, I will make little drawings of who I think the character is. This is a marionette working a marionette who is also working a marionette. So we have 3 levels of scale here. But I think that interaction could be a lot of fun. Okay, and I think technically it's possible to do this. Oh, I'm going to find out. I do a lot of research. I do a lot of observation. For instance, when I was making the horse marionette, I went and I looked at horses in the field. I made a lot of drawings of horses. I went down to the Smithsonian Institution and they had a skeleton of a horse, and I drew that. In my life, I've probably made over 150 marionettes. Well, the earlier marionettes were much simpler kind of marionette than the ones I'm making now. I'm trying to get marionettes to do very specific movements, and the overall thing is they must look like they're alive. That's what I'm shooting for. I found this piece of fabric, and I just kind of fell in love with it because I think it's almost a puppet already. Maybe I'll add a hand or something, but it's almost alive just the way it moves. I like the color of it. It's very expressive. If you can work with materials that already have a liveliness to them, it really helps the marionette become alive. I'm sculpting a head for that puppet who's going to be working a puppet who's working a puppet. I usually don't want to make things perfectly symmetrical, because the beauty of not being symmetrical is you can show the audience different sides of the face, and the puppet can appear to be changing its expression without actually doing so. They seem to be more alive that way. When I originally started making marionettes, I used a standard, what's called an airplane control. It's a couple of cross sticks with a separate bar for the leg bar. But I quickly found out that I couldn't get everything I wanted out of the marionette using that kind of control, so I just started to improvise. The design of the control is a big adventure because I don't know when I'm starting exactly how that's going to go. So it's an organic process of problem solving. I compare the manipulation of the marionette, it's like playing a musical instrument. There has to be muscle memory involved. This is Ramul. He's the oldest marionette that I still work with. I made him in the very early 70s. And he also has one of the simpler controls. The weight of the puppet's body from the neck down is carried by these 2 shoulder strings. The weight of his head is carried separately by 1 string on either side of his head, just above his ear here. They come up here and they're tied on the ends of this horizontal bar. So if I want him to turn his head, if I want him to look in that direction, all I have to do is tilt this bar this way. If I want him to look the other way, I'll just tilt that bar the other way. He has a string on the end of his nose. If I want him to look up, I can pull that string and he looks up. If I want him to look down, I'm going to hold those shoulder strings I was telling you about with my little finger and lower the head bar in relation to it, and he looks down. To get the puppet to walk, I've tied the string just above his knee. This puppet is also equipped with a string that draws his hands together, so when he makes his entrance, he is in this attitude. All the themes in my show are universal. They express things that everybody's familiar with. People have a tendency to want to feel what the marionette is feeling if it's well done. It can express pathos very powerfully in a way that a human actor cannot, because somewhere in your brain, when you're watching a human actor, you know this guy's pretending. Whereas the marionette, there's a purity about it. This is all they are, is what you're seeing. There's dance, there's choreography, there's lighting, there's design, costuming, painting, sculpture, putting it all together in a show. I just feel very fortunate to have been able to perform in different parts of the world for more than 30 years. The audiences have been great. It can be very powerful and can be very satisfying. I can't take credit myself. I give all the credit to the marionettes. I don't feel like they come from me, they come to me.